All right, guys, thank you so much for coming out tonight. As always, try to only bring the best in front of you, and most importantly, always high integrity and stuff that works. So super excited to have my friend Karen here tonight, and actually met Karen at in person at NAMS, and we're just a few days away from that right now, guys. So we want to make sure that you can come and be part of that niche affiliate marketing system. And yeah, that's just a great get-together of so many people who are working on their businesses, and it was such a great honor to meet her and the great work that she's doing. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about herself in just a few minutes, but a couple of highlights that I really wanted to hit is she's just an expert, not just in search engine optimization, but as it relates to copy. You know, there's always been sort of this mixed bag of, do I write my copy for search engines? Do I write it for human beings? And she really has some great techniques of fusing those together so that you're going to be able to get the most out of your copy. She's been in advertising for over 25 years. This is something else that I really love about Karen and other folks that I brought in front of you, is that it's people with real-world experience, that this is not a theory, it's not hypothetical, it's not something they read an ebook on last week and then decided, hey, I'm going to open me a business on copywriting because I read something about it. But this is real world. So she's been doing this, you know, for 25 years, even though she only looks 25, which is huge.
Well, thank you. There you go.
Yeah, I'm getting younger myself. It's my birthday last week when I turned 44, but I'm reverse aging somehow, so I'm pretty pumped about that. She's also a multi-six-figure copywriter. So another key qualification is she's making money as a copywriter for multiple businesses, not just for the how to make money niche, but she's doing it across the board. So we're so excited, Karen, to have you with us tonight. We are looking forward to everything that we're going to be learning.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and I thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm glad you guys are here too, and I have to tell you that you're going to need either a blank Word doc or an empty note page on your iPad, or a pen and paper even. You're going to take a lot of notes. I am famous for cramming a ton of content into webinars because I'm really big on giving you value. A couple other things that you probably want to know about me. As Paul was saying, this is the real deal. This is not theory. This is not make-believe. It's what I do and what I've been doing forever. And I created one of the longest-standing copywriting courses on the net back in 2002, the step-by-step copywriting course. And it has been updated numerous times and just relaunched it in online video format, which is what I'm going to be teaching you from tonight. I've also written 3 copywriting ebooks for the Word Tracker Masterclass series, and have had a lot of fun working with them. And of course, as Paul said, spoken at NAMS and several other search engine conferences and internet marketing conferences as well. So I'm glad to be with you tonight. And while we're together, I have 3 goals. I have 3 things that I want to do for you. I want to show you a brand new way to look at your own copy, or if you happen to be a copywriter, to look at your client's copy. I want you to be able to view it through copywriter eyes, so that you can take a whole fresh look at this with the new skills that you're going to learn while we're together. I also want to give you a minimum of 3 specific action steps so that you can improve your site's performance. You will probably walk away with way more than 3, but I will specifically name 3 of them that I want you to pay attention to. And then, because you took the time to be on the call tonight, I've got a really special something for Paul's peeps when we get to the end of it, so please be sure and stick around. You're not going to want to miss that. Something else about me, I'm not one of these that likes to sit here and just lecture and spill words out into cyberspace. I like to know that you're there. So if you have not already, please locate the question box down toward the bottom of your control panel and get very familiar with that. I want your feedback. It helps keep me on track to know that you're learning, or that I didn't make something quite clear enough and need to go back over it, or what have you. And if I ask a question, it's not rhetorical. I really want your feedback. So be aware of where that question box is so we can communicate and you can get the most out of this as we go through. We're going to talk about 3 common mistakes, and I would guess 85% of the websites I go to, either as a copywriter or just as an online shopper, make these same mistakes. So most of us are in the same boat. The customer, the client of mine that we're going to talk about tonight is, in fact, a real client. This is a real makeover that Marketing Words, my copywriting company, did for them. They had so-so search engine rankings. They weren't making very much money, but they needed to. The copy was okay. If you looked at it, you would probably say, yeah, that's pretty good. That's all right. But it wasn't getting any results. So something had to be changed. The company we're going to talk about is Provider Watch. They're still around. They're doing very well. And just so you can follow along with the before and after copy that we'll look at, I want to tell you quickly who they are and who their target audience is, who we're communicating with through the copy. They basically did credit checks for tiny little independent daycare centers. Think of the little shop down on the corner in the strip mall that had 2 or 3 employees and had maybe 20 kids that they kept, or someone that kept children in their home. These people simply could not afford to have parents bouncing checks or leaving without giving the proper notice or something to that effect. This company, Provider Watch, gave them a way to run sort of a background check, if you will, to find out where these parents stood at other daycare centers that they had used in the past. So it was a godsend for these small, tiny daycare centers. There was not one major problem with the Provider Watch site, and that's true of most websites I look at. People assume that there's this big giant something that needs to be fixed, and when they find out that there's several little problems, I think it's frustrating because it's a little bit more work. What happened with Provider Watch was these little problems all balled up and formed a clog in their sales funnel. One of them on its own wouldn't have been detrimental, but you get all 3 of them together and you've got a pretty messy situation going on. And the 3 things are, and you want to write these down, lack of focus, lack of clarity, bad SEO copywriting flow. And we're going to go over those one at a time. They had some search engine rankings, but not what I even consider to be valid search engine rankings. The search terms they were ranking high for were not very relevant to what they did. They had made poor choices in their keyword research. So people would click from the search engine listing over to the Provider Watch site. They would take one look and go, this is not where I want to be. How did I end up here? And they would click away again. So it was aggravating for Provider Watch to have traffic that wasn't converting. They also had very low paid registrations. There are 2 products that we'll see on this site. One is free, one is paid. As you can imagine, it was more important to get paid registrations than free registrations, and all of that changed for them. So I want to go through these one at a time and show you exactly what I looked at, what I noticed, what I saw that needed to be changed, and how I changed it in order to get the really super results that Provider Watch saw. So first up, lack of focus. This is your first thing out of the 3 action steps that I want you to walk away with. You're looking at not just what you're saying in your copy, but why you're saying it. It is vitally important that you connect emotionally with the people who come to your website. It's very unlikely that you're going to make many sales if you're not able to do that. But at some point, you have to get away from the connecting and the empathizing and whatnot and actually convert lookers into buyers. With Provider Watch, the first half of their copy had too much emotion. She just kept going on and on and on. Now, let me stop here and say that Cindy, the owner of Provider Watch, was not a professional copywriter. She had no copywriting training. She'd never bought a copywriting course. She'd never been to a seminar. She'd never done anything. She was just winging it based on a few articles that she read online somewhere, and it didn't work out well at all. So she rambled. The emotion got stuck in the rambling, and she ended up saying the same thing about 3 or 4 different ways, and it really got old quick. And people were relating to it. They understood what she was saying. Yes, I feel that way. Yes, I have that pain point. But they had no earthly idea why she was saying it. It was repetitive, and it never got to the point. So let's take a minute. Let me bring up the original copy from Provider Watch. Can you see that okay? Or you want me to make it a little bigger? Down here where it says starts off daycare providers. Does that look okay to you?
That looks good to me.
Looks good? Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Good, good. Now you can also see, and I'll mention this again in a second, she's trying to do a sales letter here, and it ain't cutting it because it's just, she had no training. She didn't know what she was doing. So this is the way that it turned out. Actually, this part at the very beginning with these bullet points is not bad at all, and you'll see this in the updated version. We kept that little part right there. What she's doing is connecting with her site visitors. She's empathizing with them, and she's touching on those pain points. When people have an issue, they're looking for a solution to that issue. You really want to drill that in a little bit. You want them to feel as many of those pain points as possible without turning it into some sort of interrogation technique. So she starts off, have you ever experienced the frustration and hassle of a daycare parent who didn't pay, left without giving notice, bounced a check, refused to pay a co-payment? Let me tell you something else. Questions are one of my very favorite copywriting techniques, either in the body of the copy or in headlines, because when you ask a question, your brain immediately engages and begins to try to find the answer. So there is an actual physical response when you read a question. It's an excellent way to engage your site visitors and get them involved in the copy. So this part did good. The good part didn't last long. We move into, if you're like most in the child care field, you're a caring, compassionate person. Remember that word. You're going to see it a lot. You tend to be more patient. You're going to see that word a lot too than most, and you genuinely love what you do. And she goes on to talk about, like most child care providers, your compassion and your patience transfer to the parents. You build relationships. You care about them. You see, we're just sort of going around in a circle here. These relationships, you struggle with the payment issues, and it's hard to find balance. You have your own life, and we get down and we see some more patience and some more compassion, and it just keeps rambling and rambling. We go all the way down here, halfway through the copy. Here's another compassionate up here. Very, very, very repetitive. And she hasn't even mentioned Provider Watch, that she even has a solution. Nothing. It's just over and over and over again. The other issue, the second issue that this website faced was lack of clarity. People have to understand what you're talking about, plain and simple. Now, I will be the first one to tell you that it is enormously difficult to write copy for your own stuff, mainly because you understand everything about it. And while you're writing the copy, you assume that everybody understands everything you're saying, and that's just not the case most of the time. They had this same issue with Provider Watch. So in the bottom half of the copy, the differences between the two types of accounts, the free and the paid, were not clearly defined at all. People thought everything on the Provider Watch site was free. So when they would try to sign up for a free account and they found out that what they were looking for was a paid feature, they would get frustrated and click away. Now, Provider Watch wasn't trying to be deceptive. They honestly thought they had explained this in the best way possible. The copy was way too long unnecessarily. Now, there are times and places to use long copy. There are times and places to use really long copy. This was not one of them. And being able to judge what length of copy works best based on how familiar your site visitors are with your product or service, the cost of the product or service, how much education it's going to take to help them understand the product and service, and a lot of other things, is something that she did not have the benefit of. She tried to do a sales letter format and it just flopped. They had practically no conversions whatsoever. So let's take a look at the bottom half of this copy. When we get down here, she starts a little bit to go into conversion mode. She's done her empathizing and her emotional. Now we're getting into what the solution to the problem is. So she did have that part right. You do want to do it in that order. So she says, let me back this down a little bit here, offers you the tools you need to deal with these daycare problems effectively, to get the help when you need it, to avoid the problem altogether, to eliminate the stress of trying to collect, and to make sure that your contract protects you. But look what happens. As a matter of fact, it's way up here too, pretty much the whole thing. Do you see that there is very little, especially down in the second half, that breaks up this copy? It's just word, 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 word. Most of the stuff that catches your eye visually, like sign up for your free account, this link here, or this one, no regrets daycare risk management system, the same here and here. They either don't specify that it's paid or they do specify that it's free. This led to everybody thinking that what they had was free. There are ways that you can break up your copy in such a way to force people to read the parts that you want them to read. So writing copy that gets good results is not strictly about words. Sometimes you have to have a little bit of oomph in there to break up all those words and make them more manageable. All you see here is word, 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 and it just keeps going. She's not making a point to separate free and paid. It's all jumbled in here. You set up your free account, and then she talks about an upgrade. And here she talks about an upgrade. And somewhere way down here, $9 to upgrade is what she's saying. But just as many free mentions in here. So because it wasn't separated, because there wasn't any way to differentiate between one account and another account, people got very confused, and they should have been. There's really not much of a close here. She just keeps repeating, sign up for your account, sign up for your account, sign up for your account. It really was not very good copy. And the sales figures proved that. Now let me show you the after version. Here's the improvement. Let me scroll up just a little bit. Find out if parents are bad payment risk before you accept them as customers. Not only is this an awesome headline for Provider Watch, it's also their unique competitive advantage all wrapped up with a bow. I would venture to say that the #1 issue people who come to Marketing Words, my copywriting agency, and ask for copywriting help have is that they do not understand what their unique competitive advantage is. They have no clue why they are different or better than their competition. And what's worse is they don't know how to clearly communicate that to their site visitors. So you end up with wishy-washy sites that aren't connecting and aren't delivering any type of exciting or enticing message. Well, this one did. This was exactly what people wanted to do, and the copy starts to back that up. It's a sad fact. Providers often face the hassles and stress of parents who are bad daycare payment risks. They're just making the rounds, hopping from provider to provider. They might have a long history of non-payment or collections, and if you had only known that to begin with, you would have never accepted them as customers. Here's the solution. Not all of the solution, just a little bit of a teaser of the solution. This is going to give you the vital information to make confident and accurate decisions. Great. That's exactly what I'm looking for. How do I get it? Tell me more. This is what these site visitors are thinking. Remember this? This is what was at the top of the other page of the before version. We threw that in there because they were really good pain points. In order to hit on these pain points, you first have to know what they are. You have to understand what your customers struggle with, what keeps them up at night, and better than that, you have to know what kind of a solution they're looking for so that you can provide that through your copy. All of these things are mentioned, and it says, would that affect your decision? Well, of course it would. So Provider Watch is the way that this can happen, and it basically boils it down into something they can relate to, because keep in mind, this is, or it was when it launched, a new product or service. So we've got a little bit of an educational element in there. It's basically credit reporting and credit checking exclusively for daycare providers. Oh, I can relate to that. So that way we break down that educational element just a little bit and we connect them with something that's a little bit more familiar. We go into a comparison here. Approval by association. Large corporations do this and they know the value of it. They know it can help avoid big problems. So now you can do it too. Finally, there's consumer reporting just for you. Now, looky what we did at the bottom. How much clearer could it be? We broke up the free and the paid so that people could take one look and say, oh, for $9.95 a month, this is what I get. Bullets are one of the PowerPoints I was talking about previously that force people to stop and read. And when you add bolding to your bullet points, that's even better. So this was a section that, because of the visual elements, just a little bit of shading. I mean, it's a 2-column table basically is all it is. There's really no design involved. But because it's clear and clean and different than anything else on the page, it really attracted attention. So you scroll down, and here is where you can sign up for your paid account, and here's your free account. This is what you get, and here's how you sign up for that. It couldn't be any more clear. All of this is what made the difference with Provider Watch as far as conversions went. But what about getting traffic to the website? Remember, I said in the beginning that they really didn't have any valid search engine rankings. Let's hop back over here. And we're going to take a look at that. This is your third action step to write down. Check your site for SEO copywriting flow. Your search engine copywriting actually begins on Google's website or Bing's, not on yours. It amazes me how many people will write a title tag and or a description tag willy-nilly. The two won't even have anything to do with one another, much less anything to do with the page. But if you tell them to write an advertisement for AdWords or Facebook, they take an entirely different approach. Wonder why that is. We're going to go into that in just a minute. Provider Watch had extremely broad keywords. So they were getting traffic, but it was the wrong traffic. Their title tag just had keywords. Keyword, keyword, keyword. How boring is that? The description was lame as well. It needed serious work. It didn't do a thing for human beings. It only was attempting to appeal to search engines. And they really could have used the keywords on their site more strategically. They just sort of sprinkled them around here and there. instead of understanding where the best places to put them were. So let's create a little pathway. I want to show you what happens when you design some steps, and I'm talking about steps that you can walk on that will take people from Google or Bing's search engine results page not only to your site, but all the way to the call to action of your site. When you lay it out and you connect those dots, not only will you get better qualified visitors to your website because they will know what to expect and they will want what you're giving them, but they also are very likely to convert faster than if you do this the traditional mismatch way. So let's start at the beginning. And I'm going to take you through steps using Provider Watch as the example. Pick an engine, whichever one you prefer, and you go to the query box, which is just the big empty box where you type your search engine phrase to find whatever it is that you're looking for. In this case, it's bad daycare payment. That's one of Provider Watch's key phrases. And this is a very typical search engine results page that you would see if you were using Google as your search engine. This is an ad. It says right here, ad. This one doesn't count. So Provider Watch is right here in the #1 position for this particular key phrase, bad daycare payment. There are two parts. This is called a snippet. There are two parts to your snippet. The top part up here is the title tag. It's the part that's underlined. What's underneath it is called the meta description tag. The title tag is not a meta tag. It is just the page title. Excuse me. The meta description tag down here is, in fact, a meta tag for those of you that may be into SEO. For those of you that aren't, don't worry a thing about what I just said. A little bit of trivia for you there. So let's take a look at the title tag first. This one says bad daycare payment. There's that question again. Avoid child care collection in the future. The title tag is the most important tag. It carries an awful lot of weight with Google and Bing and most of the other search engines. This is, more importantly, your human being visitors' first exposure to your website. And let me point out something here before we go any further. And Paul mentioned this earlier. This is all about balance. You cannot, I take that back, you should not write your title tag and your meta description tag for the search engines only, especially your meta description tag, which I'll talk about in just a minute. There has never been a search engine in the history of search engines who clicked to your website, whipped out a credit card, and bought anything, or filled out your lead generation form, or picked up the phone call and gave you a ring to book an appointment with your top salesman. Search engines can provide you with a lot of traffic, but so can many, many other methods. In my opinion, as a search engine copywriter, it is more important for you to focus on people than the engines. However, since it's really easy to optimize your web pages for the search engines, you got to do that too. It would be a no-brainer. The title tag helps your searchers identify with your website because you include keywords. It also helps with your rankings to include keywords in your title tag. You can write the title tag copy, but Google and Bing reserve the right to change it. You really don't want them to change it because it usually ends up being something stupid like your company name. I'm going to give you some tips in just a second, so get your pen ready or your iPad ready on how to write these title tags so that you will have a better chance of them not getting changed. Technically speaking, your page title can be any length you want it to. However, only the first 60 to 65 characters or so excuse me, are going to show up so that people can see them. You've seen title tags that were cut off in mid-sentence and they had an ellipsis at the end, the dot, dot, dot. That's because they exceeded the visual space. Now, Google and Bing can read what comes after the 65-character limit, but you want to keep your most important information and the information that you want people to read at the front part of the tag. When I write title tags, these are the same tips that I use for my clients, the ones that I'm going to share with you now. I only include the company name or the brand name up front if it's an extremely recognizable one. If you are not a household name, you can still include your company or your brand name or your product name, but I would do it toward the back of the tag so that people who are searching for you by a category or by a solution or something to that effect, instead of searching on your company name, will still be able to find you. You want to use enticing and descriptive language when possible. I know it's a short amount of space, but even one word can set you apart from your competition. And there is competition. If you get a really crowded search engine results page, let's see, you could have 3 paid ads at the top, 10 free listings down the middle, that's 13. Then if you do local listings as well, that's, I've forgotten if they're up to 6 or 8 on that, we'll say 6, so that's 19, and then you get maybe 10 paid ads down the right side, that's 29, so almost 30 other competitors on that same page. So how in the world are you going to stand out if you have a title tag that says keyword, keyword, keyword? That's kind of boring. You could put in the word elegant or impressive or new or anything else that would be relevant to what you're listing to help separate you from the competition. You want to define yourself a little bit too if you have room. Always include your primary key phrase, and if you're using short keywords, you might be able to get 2 in there as well. And this is important. Be consistent with the topic of your title tag, your meta description tag, the headline on your web page itself, and the copy on your web page itself. These are the steps. These are the little stones that are creating our path that will bring prospects from the search engines to your website. Keep that in mind. We're going to look at that again in a second. So here's the title tag, bad daycare payment, avoid child care collection in the future. That hooks them right away. Then we continue that same topic, sort of like dropping breadcrumbs for them to follow, and we expand on it just a little bit in the meta description tag. Bad daycare payment, bad daycare payment. Now, we're not putting keywords in here because they will help us rank. I'll go over that in a minute. We're doing it because they're bold and they stand out. So once we've done this, we start working on this part down here. Since, late 2009, early 2010, Google publicly announced that they no longer used the meta description tag for ranking purposes. In other words, you could put the Greek alphabet in there and it wouldn't matter as far as your rankings go. But like I said just a second ago, you still want to include keywords because they will bold those and it catches someone's eye. Whatever you put in there is not going to help you one smidgen with getting that page ranked. What you put in there may or may not be used on the search engine results page. Google and Bing both have said that they will pull from the copy on your page. They will pull from the Open Directory project listing that you have, if you have one, or quote-unquote other sources, which makes me nervous. I really prefer to give them a description tag that they can work with and that they can use. So while you don't have complete control, you still have a way to persuade with this second exposure that you're giving to your visitors. So when I write description tags, this is what I remember. Again, just like with the title tag, they can pretty much be whatever length you want them to. However, only about 150 characters are going to show up for the human beings to read. So you want to keep your important information around 150 characters in length. Let me tell you about this nifty cool trick that I learned from a good friend of mine, Jill Whalen, who is over at highrankings.com. This has been proven to work up to 200 words, not 200 characters, but 200 words. And it's really cool because Google and Bing, when it comes to your meta description tag, will pull out pieces of it. Unlike your title tag, which they either use the entire thing or they use none of it, they will pick and choose from the description tag, so you have a lot more flexibility. If I am optimizing a page for 2 keywords, I will write one complete sentence for the first keyword and put it in the description tag, and I will write a second complete sentence for the second keyword and put it in the same description tag. Then, when somebody types in their search query, Google or Bing will sift through what I've put in the description tag and pull out the sentence that is most relevant. It is not 100% foolproof, but it really does an excellent job of making sure that what you put in the description tag shows up more often than what Google thinks it ought to put in there. Just like with your title tag, be descriptive, be enticing. Think of part of your goal of writing the description tag as encouraging these surfers to click my listing as opposed to the 30 other ones on the page. What can you say to entice them to click over to your website? Differentiate your company or your product in some way. Offer them a benefit, something that would allow them to click to you instead of all those other sites. And just like we said with the title tag, we're being consistent. We're keeping the same topic from title tag to description tag to headline to copy. So here's the title and the description together. So I came to Google, I typed in my key phrase, I want to find a solution for bad daycare payment. And I see this listing, bad daycare payment, avoid child care collection in the future. I look down and I continue to read and I get a little bit more information. Is a parent a bad daycare payment risk? Find out before you say yes and avoid child care proceedings in the future. Great, sounds like just what I'm looking for. So I click and I go to the website. And when I get to the website, I see, find out if parents are bad payment risks before you accept them as customers. Cool, I'm in the right place. Is this making sense? Seriously, type something in the question box and let me know that this is a light bulb for you. Are you following what we're doing and how this is working? That if you can catch them on the search engine results page and you make a good impression and your title tag flows to your description tag, they are so much more likely to click to your site. And when they get here and find out they're in the right place, they are going to be so excited. Thank you. Jennifer says yes. Judy says very good. Rawl says light bulb. Excellent. So glad. So you don't stop at the headline. In the copy, you continue to bring this information and to use it as you go all the way down to the call to action, which is where you're going to get your conversion. Now, just exactly where do we put these keywords once we get to our website copy? Well, this is my handy-dandy, nifty, neato SEO copywriting wireframe. And I created this probably 2 years ago, I guess, and people just absolutely love it. And this is included in the step-by-step copywriting course, as a matter of fact. It's just a simple little chart that reminds you of the best places to put your keywords. Now, we talked about title and description. You can also put them in alt tags if you have a banner across the top of your page, or if you have a product shot or picture of you or whatever kind of image is on there. Your main navigation bar, you can use keywords, or maybe yours runs this way down the side. Breadcrumb trails, if you have e-commerce sites or other types of sites, and I'll go over those in just a minute. And we talked about the headline and the body copy, and the subheadlines are all great places to put your search engine keywords. Alt tags, let's talk about that for just a second. Depending on whether you're hanging with the SEO crowd or the web design crowd, you will hear these called image attribute tags or alt tags. Same monster, two different names. These have a dual purpose. They are to benefit visually impaired human beings, and they also give you just a little nudge in the search engines. People use screen reader software who are visually impaired, and it literally goes through and reads all the words and whatnot that are on the page. But what do you do when you get to pictures? Well, you add an alt tag, and it reads what's in the alt tag. So you don't want to abuse these, because it would be very irritating to people who need this type of software to actually help them surf the net. But you can do better than this. This is pretty lame. Now, because people, when they get toward the end of the buying process, will tend to use long tail phrases made up of model numbers and brand names, I would probably put Bosch TCA 6001UC fully automatic coffee machine. That should do it. Of course, you would want to research that and make sure it was a viable key phrase, but you get the idea. Something that's useful to a human and has information that a search engine would want. Breadcrumb trails, you've seen these on websites. They just give you, here I'll make it bigger, they just give you links so that you can go backwards without getting lost if you want to. But if you set them up properly, you end up with key phrases: stainless steel sinks and faucets. Now, it's not in the right order. If they'd set it up differently, it could be. But because both Google and Bing make use of what's referred to as word proximity, which means how close these words are to each other, you would still get a little nudge for having the individual keywords in your breadcrumb trail. So that's another little cool something that would give you a bump. What kind of results did Provider Watch get? After we made all these changes, we looked at lack of focus, lack of clarity, and we built in some really great SEO copywriting flow. 52% increase in unique visitors to their site. 22% increase in overall sign-ups, but that included the free ones. Here's the money. 86% increase in paid subscribers, and a huge increase in phone traffic with people saying, holy cow, where has this been all my life? How do I get a hold of this? Tell me more about it, blah, blah, blah. So overall, it was just a home run right from the beginning. This is what Cindy had to say once we got finished. Provider Watch says, I can't say I was skeptical, but I was nervous about hiring a copywriter for the first time. I was hopeful, but also wasn't expecting any miracles. The results have far exceeded my expectations. To see these kinds of improvements in such a short amount of time is very exciting. And I know it was for her, and it's still going. That site is still up today and just kicking butt and taking names. So it's something that I'm very proud of, and I know that Cindy is as well. I do have time to take some question and answers, and I would be more than happy to do that. If you look to the bottom of your control panel for the question box, you can start typing those in now. And while you're doing that, I want to deliver on my third promise. My first one was to give you a new way to look at your website. Do you have a new way to look at your website now? Can you go look at it through copywriter eyes and be able to tell a difference from what you have now? The second thing Yes, Judy says, oh yes, good, thank you, thank you. Oh yes, thank you. Great. The second thing was to give you at least 3 action steps that you could walk away with. Did you get a minimum of 3? Did you write them all down? Lack of clarity, lack of focus, SEO, copywriting flow, and hopefully a lot more as well. Good, good, good. Glad. Okay, then the last thing I have, yes ma'am. Kelly, are you Southern? Good deal. So the next thing I want to do is tell you about the very cool special that I brought just for people who were on the call. I was teaching you from my step-by-step copywriting course, which is now in online video format. These are just some of the things that you will be able to do when you've seen it. And you will see this case study again in the course. It's one of many case studies just like this that I've included because they are so powerful. You'll be able to see new ways to increase the sales and conversions of your site, to position yourself as the obvious choice, of course get better rankings in Google or Bing, communicate with your visitors so they take action, get your unique competitive advantage. There's an entire module devoted just to that with 28 different ways to discover your unique competitive advantage. Now it's all in 10 video modules and you can just watch them, or you can actually take it like a course with the practice assignments and the answers that I've given you. It's up at the copywriting site now for $2.99, but you're not, of course, we're not going to the $2.99 place. We're going someplace else. I have also created a bonus bundle that I've sprinkled around throughout all of the modules with checklists and cheat sheets that are going to cut your copywriting time literally in half. That's a $49 value all by itself. I'm also chunking in my Demystifying Keyword Research ebook, which has become enormously popular. You will find the answers to questions in here that you didn't even know you were supposed to ask. There are so many light bulb moments in this little book that will make sure that you are choosing the right keywords so you don't end up in the same boat that Provider Watch was in, where you get a lot of traffic but nobody's sticking around. I've also developed a private Facebook group only for copywriting course students. You cannot get into this unless you are a student of the step-by-step copywriting course. Lots of people you can ask questions of, you can brainstorm with other people, discuss ideas, get feedback. It's absolutely priceless to have a group of people that you can depend on and use as a sounding board like this group provides you with. I'm also going to toss in 3 of my very short, about 30-page each, little ebooks from another site that I have. These are my most popular titles. Very laser-focused material on writing blog posts that convert, conversion techniques for copywriters, and the emotional side of copywriting, which is what we were talking about part of the time with Provider Watch today. In addition, you're going to be invited to 2 private webinars or teleclasses. One of them is on email copywriting, and the other one I'm going to do a first come, first serve live copywriting review session. When I do those as part of my business, they're $195 each. So if you get in on that, you're going to get a big bargain. So let's see what we've got here. The course itself is $2.99. If you add in all the freebies that I'm giving away, we end up with almost $600 worth of value. And because you are on the call tonight and because you're one of Paul's peeps, you're going to get it for half off for the next 24 hours only. That's $149. That gives you 50% off. There's a coupon code right there, PAUL50, P-A-U-L 50, no spaces. You will need that when you go to the website. Now, there is a payment plan. You can either do $149 or you can do 4 payments of $43 each. Again, this is going to be 50% off the regular price. You need a separate code for this, PAUL50 plan, if you're going to use the payment plan. Sorry, there has to be 2 codes. That's just how the shopping cart works. So that's the way I had to do it. But look down at the link below. This is where you go to get this special deal. And it's nicheology.net/copy.
That's right. .net, not .com, nicheology.net/copy.
Yep. nicheology.net/copy. And you need one or of the other of these codes. Now, what happens if you are not able to purchase within the next 24 hours? Or if you're listening to the replay a few days later? Let's see, this is June 26th. So on June 27th, this offer goes away. Well, that's okay. Well, this is the best deal. I got something for all the good people who are listening to the replay too, and it's good through Friday, June 29th. You're going to get 30% off, and the codes are very similar, Paul 30 for the one-time plan, or Paul 30 plan if you want the 4-payment option. Same link, nicheology.net/copy. Now let me show you, as a matter of fact, while we're here, before we get to the questions, this is the site. You're just going to scroll down because I tend to get, you go down to the secure online form. Here's the one payment option. You get immediate access. You just enter the code here, no spaces, hit add to cart, and it takes you over to PayPal, and you can see it's deducted $150 discount. You want to use the payment plan. There's 4 payments. You will get 2 to 3 modules every time you make a payment. So if you don't want to wait, you need to do the one-time option. If you're ready to do the monthly plan, you just do Paul 50 plan, or if you're listening to the replay, Paul 30 plan. And when you click add to cart, it takes you into PayPal, and you see that you get your huge discount there too. So these are your codes. We'll get this back up here so you can see. And let's see what kind of questions we have. Bob Jones. Do you write the website content first, followed by SEO for search engines? Great presentation. Thank you, Bob. No, actually, because the key phrases that are to be included in the copy can sometimes sway how I write or what I write, I will do the keyword research first, or sometimes the client provides the keywords for me when I write, but I will have that first and then I write, because there's too much. It sounds awkward to me most of the time when I go back and try to force keywords into copy that's already been written. So my preference is to have the keywords first and do it at the same time. Jennifer says, Karen, thanks for the great price. I haven't got a website yet. Will this material help me with my new website copywriting? Oh, Jennifer, you are in primo position, babe. You really are going to rock when you do your website. If you go through this first, you are going to be able to plan so much more out and not have to backtrack like people that already have a website will. So yes, you are in the perfect position to get this now, and it will absolutely help you with your new website copywriting. Absolutely. What else have we got? Thanks very much. You're welcome, Jennifer. My pleasure. Kelly says, how long will we have access to the materials? This is not a membership site. As long as, if you're doing the payment plans and you stop halfway through, obviously you don't continue to get access. But once you purchase, it's yours. You have purchased the course and you will have access to it forever and ever. Amen.
All right.
Anybody else? What time is it? Oh, we got a few minutes left. We have about 4 minutes left. Any other questions? You guys are good to go? All right. Well, Mr. Paul, I am so glad to have been here. It has been an absolute blast, and I hope you and all the folks on the call found it enlightening and helpful.
Yes, absolutely. I tell you what, this is just so eye-opening with some of the things that are really so simple to do, but we just don't really know about. we don't activate those, and we're kind of following those kind of blind steps because we've read a report somewhere that told us, you know what, you need to have keywords in your title, and just like you mentioned, we load it up, across the board, so it really doesn't make any sense to a human being, but we think that it's going to get us ranked, and just that walkthrough of your client was just so amazing and so eye-opening, so many things that we can apply. So you certainly delivered on high-level content. And guys, copywriting is something that I really do not talk enough about, but it is the key to conversions. It's the key that you're really able to get in, lock in on it, and make those connections, build that relationship with your people. And as long as it is clear and it is on point, the things that Karen showed you tonight are going to allow you to implement that to an even greater degree, and you're going to be able to get a lot higher conversions. And so many times we're focused on that product or on that thing that we're not really concentrating on how we're going to be able to communicate that message, the end result, and actually do high integrity selling. And that's what she's shown us tonight. Now,
Yep.
Tim, let's see, Tim had a question. Is it too early to purchase if your product is still being developed?
Oh, no, definitely not. As a matter of fact, you would probably do well if you went ahead and got it now, because you can go through some of the tools and the cheat sheets and things that I've included in there and start to fill them out as you go. So by the time you get finished with your product development, your copy would pretty much write itself, I would guess. But no, it's not. And we haven't honed in on exactly what we're going to do. We have an idea but need to get more specific. I would go ahead and do that, especially while you can get it at such a deep discount, because you can, since you've got access all the time, it's not like you're only going to be able to get in for 30 days or so. You can go in and print off these cheat sheets and these worksheets and go ahead and start filling them in as you develop it. I think that would be the best way to go.
Yeah.
Judy says, trying to buy but seem to be hung up when I click pay now. It might be because it's so busy. Let's just see. I tell you what. You can just take a little trip back over here. And I've got Paul 50. Add to cart. Yeah, and it's going through. It may be, it's either because it's so busy, Judy, or maybe it's just a slow connection on your end. Kelly Black just said, I just finished checking out and it went smooth. So others are getting there. Keep trying. You see down in the bottom corner down here, this orange click to chat thing. Right now it's offline because I happen to be doing a webinar with a good friend. But let me know if you aren't able to get it in a little while, and we'll figure out something to do for you. I won't leave you stranded. Judy says, just went through. May have bought multiple copies. Well, if you get multiple receipts from PayPal, let me know. Good deal. Excellent. Anybody else have questions before we wrap up? Good to go? All right. Paul, I thank you so much. It's been a blast. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Awesome. Loved it, Karen. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you for coming out tonight. We'll get the replay sent out as well. I know some of you guys came late, and also we certainly want to encourage others to come and listen to this as well. So if you don't mind, those of you who are still here, Kelly, Judy, Tim, let me pull down my list here. We've got a lot that are still on the line. But those of you guys, if you wouldn't mind emailing me at nicheology5@gmail.com, send me some feedback on this so that I can get others to listen to this replay. You know, you guys are part of this marketing circle, and you know how many things are sent out all of the time. They're really worthless and pitched hard. I love all the value that was shared tonight, and I would love to help other people come and watch this content so they can apply it to their business. So if you would email me at nicheology5@gmail.com, and send me some of your feedback from tonight's webinar so I can encourage others to come and watch this. I know you got a lot of value out of this, and we want to pass this along to others as well. Well, Karen, thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you for sharing this content. And guys, as always, success is not an accident. Be blessed.